Happy Wednesday, Adam and GM. We had some technical difficulties, but we are back and the market is pumping and Roaring Kitty is now posting about crypto and meme coins, man.
Oh my God.
Do you think he's going to launch his own?
I can't imagine after being dragged in front of Congress that he's going to, or dragged in front of the SEC or whatever, that he's going to play in that realm at all. I think he's a trillion miles away from that. What? Oh no, we just got rugged, bro.
We're still live here. So
yeah, the good old Twitter. I knew it was bad because it said you know, the Emblem account, Chris was having technical issues. So yeah, you know, it's I can't imagine he's gonna play that sort of game, but he'll probably tease about it, you know, because it's fun to tease about it and, you know, get the crypto Twitter all kerfluffled. I mean, you mentioned one. What was it? It
said methamphetamine. Yeah, because he was posting the what was that? What's the show? With the meth.
Breaking Bad. Yeah,
Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if he posted, you know, something that hinted at it, and of course these guys spin up a Solana contract address in 15 minutes, right? Or less, 5 minutes. And so I checked it. It had pumped to like 1.5 million market cap. And but you know the way this is, it's like, look, these guys, you know, they might have 80, 90, 100% of the tokens at the start. I mean, imagine. It's dump city, man. I mean, it's crazy. If you buy this, you know, you are the exit liquidity, most likely. I mean, we all have these dreams of it, you know, becoming the next big thing and running to 100 million, but more than likely you are going to be the exit liquidity if you're buying into this stuff.
All right. I think Chris is back with the show now.
All right, check it out, man.
Here we are. All right. We're going to be live back in a second. And thank you all for those who are watching the video and remaining patient here. Some technical difficulties. That was the second time that happened recently. So
I guess one of the other interesting things in the this morning, right before I got on the show, obviously Solana memes are dominating everything. Right? It's like Bitcoin Runes is completely dead as far as activity goes, and Solana meme coins, you know, you can still buy a Solana shitter for $20, right? So it's like Solana is like the scratch off tickets of lotteries, right? Or gambling, right? It's like, you know, I can play Solana meme coins for $5. While if I went to the casino, which is like, you know, ETH or Bitcoin, well shit, it's got a $50 buy-in, it's expensive, right? So yeah, Solana's still cracking, man. I mean, it's still out there pumping. Chris, you there, man?
Okay, we should be back. That was rough, but we are back in the building.
No problem. It happens pretty consistently across just the entire space. I was on a show, I think it was yesterday, that also got cut out. So X's servers are down. I am excited for this conversation, though. Lynn, we'll get to you guys, and Dotswap, we'll get to you in a second. We'll let the room fill up again for another minute as we make our rounds. Also, everyone who's in the space, make sure that you retweet the spaces. I've pinned it to the top. Make sure that you leave some comments down the bottom right-hand corner, any questions that you'd like us to ask Lynn during our conversation, or anything you just have that you're interested to hear about DeFi on Bitcoin. I'm actually excited for this conversation because personally I've been working on building or have been part of a team or a group that's been trying to build something that essentially Dotswap's already done. So you guys were first to the market, although you guys have been a little bit of a secret per se, but you've built some really, really cool products. So I hope everyone really retweets the space. I know there's a ton of spaces that are going on right now, and I think everyone's really just focused on Roaring Kitty. Although it's becoming a little bit cringe because it's just there's so many videos. It's like, bro, let's just get to the point. I thought like the best thing for him to do would have like 2 days of posting, and then he like pops up on his own live stream.
Yeah,
and then it's like, I'm here, right? It's like you're like grand.
Oh, but it would break Twitter. Imagine if he held a Twitter Spaces or whatever, it would literally be insane, man. It'd be like an Elon space, right? Yeah, it's so interesting. And you might have seen yesterday too that, you know, some senators are like, we need to curtail the, you know, maybe when SEC needs to crack down on people tweeting like that. It's like, wow, have we fallen off a cliff, man? I watch CNBC every single day. Guys are shilling, you know, stocks or whatever bond or whatever they're buying. I mean, to think that him tweeting out literally just meme videos is somehow market manipulation. Get real, man. Get real.
This is why we use a public blockchain so that you cannot shut it down. I guess unless you're using Solana, right? All right. I'm going to make a little bit of rounds. Dogfather, man, how are you doing? And also, what were your thoughts yesterday on learning about permissionless tokens and kind of the AMM space that's starting to emerge on Bitcoin?
GM. Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting to see all the builders. So it's very early. We don't know who is winning, so we should listen and try out everything. There may be the next Uniswap around with some sweet airdrops. And if not, we are helping, you know, these builders getting their product out, getting traction, and we all win. You know, if these builders, you know, ship the next important building block, we all win. So guys, support these awesome builders, try out their products, be active, you know, try to break it, and yeah, we all win.
Yeah, I completely agree. And this shit is not easy at all. And so without further ado, we do have Lynn on stage, who is the co-founder and CEO of Dotswap. Lynn, thank you for joining us. You there?
Jam. Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn. Nice to have all of you here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate you for coming on and sharing your time with us, man. A few days ago, or maybe it was like a few weeks ago, I'd come across Dotswap for this from this minting idea that I had expressed, and turns out you guys had already built it. But before we do dive into the product, tell us a little bit about kind of your history. I'm looking here on your profile. It says that you were part of the BSV Association in China. So it appears that you're also a previous BSV builder that maybe gave you some expertise here.
Yes, yes. I'm the miner of BSV, and I mined the first ever BSV block since the fork from BCH. So I'm a big blocker, and I think there will be quite a lot of opportunities here that we can build on Bitcoin, the whole Bitcoin protocol. That's awesome.
Yeah, interesting. So let's dive into the protocol then here itself, and maybe just your kind of experience with building on Bitcoin. Dotswap, it appears, popped up kind of seemingly out of nowhere, although it looks like you guys have been building this for at least from your roadmap, it says since the beginning of May. Tell us a little bit of what brought you over to ordinals and to runes and the idea of Dotswap.
Hey, yo, what's
So
up,
we
Jake?
start.
Can I take over
Yeah,
for this
please.
topic? Yeah.
Who's behind the account?
You can call me Chi. Basically in charge of marketing and some of the biz developing for Dotswap. And I guess I'll take over this.
Yeah.
I'll do a brief introduction for this section and tell us about a bit of a background on our journey.
Yeah, please.
Is that fine? Yeah, thank you. And also, by the way, GM to everyone, to Emblem, Bolts, to Adam, to Dogfather and Chris. Thank you for inviting us. Basically, I represent Dotswap. We are the first BTC native AMM swap that you can actually use. And we leverage the PSBTs, or partially signed Bitcoin transactions, to facilitate trustless swaps directly on the Bitcoin blockchain. Yeah, and I'm here with our CEO, Mr. Lin, who guided us through the Bitcoin ecosystem with his unique vision for a scalable future of Bitcoin. So yeah, he may talk about that later. But basically, our journey began last year in September. We pushed out a BRC20 swap that's kind of on the centralized side, with a roadmap of building the sidechain atomic swaps for better scalability on Bitcoin. But then we've transitioned to a in-between stage, which is where Dotswap is at right now. All of its swaps are fully on-chain and trustless, ensuring that every transaction is secure, transparent, and verifiable. So yeah, and we've been running for over 6 months, 200 days, supporting a total value locked of 40 BTC and processing over 10,000 on-chain transactions for popular UTXO assets like runes, BRC20s, and ARC20s. And we've accumulated over 400 BTCs in transaction volume with over 3,000 unique traders. And all of this cannot be made possible without the immense support coming from the Dotswap community, as well as the Bitcoin ecosystem. So yeah, and also we can't do this without the fellow builders and friends in the space, as well as you, Jake. So it's such an honor. It's such a surprise that you noticed us like a few weeks before. So yeah, thank you for having given this opportunity for us to introduce us to the wider audience here. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys for joining us. We come through the lens of building the market together, growing the pie, and then dividing it afterwards, right? So we're kind of non-territorial. Even if we are building, similar products, the early pioneers should know that this pie can be quite large. And if you start trying to be tribal and territorial around it now, it's only doing a disservice, not just to the teams, but to the users as well. So the best thing we could do is really support each other and really dissect and understand how these protocols are operating and how they're working, and allow the users to, interact with whatever protocol they feels fits best, whether it's for their ideology or just for their kind of practical use cases. I have here on the live stream, it says that Dotswap's done $22 million in trading volume, 60 BTC in assets, TVL, and over 8,000 unique traders. Some of the BTC native DeFi solutions include a DEX, liquidity, and asset locking. There were a handful of products here that I found to be really, really interesting. And I want to get into a little of those later. One thing I noticed clearly as I come to Dotswap, there's two different things going on here. You have a V1 and a V3. And on V1, you have a DEX essentially for ARC20, which is for atomicals, and BRC20 and for runes. Could you just add or let us know what's the difference between V1 and V3? Is this just like how the LP works, or is this something unique to Dotswap?
Right. So in terms of LP, V1 and V3 are basically the same, but I would call it V1 because it's like the first iteration that we pushed out. And like I said before, our journey has come a long way. The first time that we pushed out a product is like a more of a centralized swap. Basically, you put your BTCs, you put your BRC20s into a multi-sig address that we put out that's public, everyone can see it. And then we say, oh, you have this much of BRC20, you have this much of BTC, and we trade them in a database. And so that allows you to trade BRC20s very fast in seconds, which solves some of the pain points of trading BRC20s at that time, because you need so much, you make so much UTXO bloats, you need to waste so much fees, network fees was quite high back then. So yeah, V1 was basically to solve that problem. If you put money into the multi-sig address and you have a balance, you can trade in seconds. And V3 is like a in-between stage that I talked about. It's coming from the centralized solution to a more decentralized solution. But it's not 100% centralized. But in terms of every swap transaction, it's fully on-chain. It's like an atomic swap. Because if you look into BSVDs and how the BRC20s or the ordinals are traded right now, you can see it. It's like an atomic swap. One side gives BATC, the other side gives the ordinals. The transaction can only be confirmed if you agree, and you can see the inputs and outputs. So we basically put that out there and implemented it into a MMS swap, allowing you to swap any amount of BRC20s, runes, or ARC20s at any time, as long as there is a liquidity pool that is being created. So yeah, V1 more centralized, V3 all the swaps are on chain, but there will need to be a liquidity pool created.
Interesting. So diving in a little bit more to the decentralized or on-chain model, because there are a bunch of people who are very interested, and and from the teams that we've talked with, and from my own personal experience, there's many ways to really go about this on-chain, off-chain kind of utilization for Dotswap, and I guess for the LP pools. Where is the accounting being placed? Is it on an internal indexer and a local server? Are you using some sort of EVM or virtual machine smart contract on the background to do the accounting for the LP pools and kind of the logic behind that? Could you give us a little bit of just details on how that's operating on the back end?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not as technical as some of our devs, but I can spill some of the details. It's basically like how AlexNet and Unisat have been I tried to do with the decentralized indexer. It's kind of like a decentralized sequencer. We look at how much BTCs are in the liquidity pool, how much BRC20s are in the liquidity pool, and then we broadcast the swap transactions. We calculate the price and then broadcast the transactions in the order that the swaps are requested. and then we broadcast them. So there is less of a front running risk in that sense. So we are just looking at, so all the assets are stored in a multi-sig address, which we have a upgraded multi-sig scheme for. So BTC in one address, BRC in one address, and runes in one address, and we look at all the assets, how much are in there real time, and then we put them in a decentralized sequencer, and then we broadcast the transactions in order. So yeah, basically it.
So one question. This is Adam, by the way, talking through Jake's mic. One question, just to clarify, because I know people would ask me, if it's in a multi-sig, then it's not really trustless, right? We're the person who's doing the trading would then be trusting kind of whoever controls the multi-sig. Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Yeah, but yes, that's essentially correct, because if everyone agrees to rock that multi-sig address, then they can rock it. Sure. But we have isolated that risk from the swappers. So if you're only doing swaps, your transaction, your assets do not go through the liquidity pool, or do not go through our hands. It's like atomic swap, one BTC to your address and your runes to our address. In that sense, the swaps are trustless, but we have isolated the risk or the need for trust to the LP side, to the liquidity providers. They put money into that multi-sig address, which is co-custodian. Is that what co-custody between us, between BitGo, and between Safe Parent. They provide the multi-sig scheme, and they provide MVC calculation for the different, like the shards of each private keys.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that. So I will clarify here for the listeners and those who aren't watching. It appears you guys have created something of your own that's called MMM, multi-layered multi-sig matrix, a groundbreaking collaboration with BitGo and Safe Huron. So these are your qualified custodians. It says your Dotswap's liquidity pools are now powered by an advanced multi-sig framework integrating the best of both MPC and BTC native multi-sig for unprecedented security. And Safe Huron, which I've never heard of, says a globally recognized MPC self-custodial platform and audited by Slowmist, enhances Dotswap as a multi-party computation provider and trusted key custodian for the Dotswap's liquidity pool. And then obviously BitGo is like the most popular Bitcoin custodian in the world that also is the custodian for wrapped Bitcoin. So, those are very, very key partners here. Could you go in a little bit of definition of what the multi-layered multi-sig matrix is? And the caveat or the info I want to just label here is, it's interesting as the Emblem team and for the show, we've interviewed now a handful of different kind of DeFi builders on Bitcoin. It seems like everyone has created their own, either their own sort of like a backend system for logic, or they've created their own multi-sig kind of solution. And you guys are following in very similar footsteps of all the other builders that we've been following, of creating your own system to allow this like spectrum of decentralization that allows the users to interact with. So could you just give us a little bit of a definition in your own words of what this multi-layered multi-sig matrix is?
Right. So the name MMM, I think it's like a reference to like a popular pyramid scheme back in the day. It's like a scam. Yeah, it's more of a meme. Yeah. If you know it, you know. If you know, you know. But yeah, it's basically like you said. It's like combining the best worlds between multi-sig and MVC. So multi-sig, you actually have different keys, multiple keys that controls one transaction. You will need like virtual signing and like 2 out of 3 to make sure that the transaction will go through. MPC is like calculating the private keys on the cloud or real time, and you would have different shards that's been custody in different people. What we do is that there are actually different secret keys for a multi-sig address, and then we separate those different secret keys into separate shards, which is made possible with MPC, which is in collaboration with the Safe Heron. If you haven't heard of Safe Heron, you probably heard of Kobo, and they are one of the investors for the Safe Heron. Like they're building something else, but so yeah, they are endorsed by some of the biggest custodians in the world. So yeah, that's basically it. We're trying to make it as simple as possible because, like I said before, there are security risks or trust issues. The liquidity providers will need to put their trust into that multi-sig address for it to be secure. What we do is trying to make it simple. If there are multiple world-known custodians holding your address, holding the secret keys in that address, then you should be fine. You should be safe with that choice, and then that allows for truly trustless swaps on chain, which is like beneficial for all of us. Because if the swappers are happy, the transactions are going through, the volumes will go high, the TVL will go up, then I think that will benefit every one of us. But yeah, that's a bit of us.
That was a good explanation. Yeah, I think this is what everybody is really attempting to solve: is how can you create DeFi on Bitcoin that satisfies being quote unquote on chain, or the large majority of it to be on chain. Lynn, I saw your hand up. Would you like to add to statement?
Yeah. Last question is the key does not exist. The key is not calculated from the shares or shards from the MPC. So only the signature is calculated by different parties. That is the correction. So no private key ever exists. Okay, and then it eliminate the needs that we need to keep our private key safe and from external hacking or internal leaking. Okay, so the whole processor is quite secure from our perspective. Okay, that is only small correct.
Yeah, I could tell you just from like my own personal anecdotes of working with the OmniSat team and trying to figure out how to build it. One of the major hurdle, and I think this is probably the main reason why it hasn't launched, is figuring out how do you decentralize the keys, the MPC. They're going a little bit more. We've gone back and forth of just doing a straight multi-sig to putting the multi-sig on an EVM, doing some sort of like node network. It's a process that there's no clear cut and dry way to go about decentralizing it, because everyone's going to have a different preference. Some people want to have the keys distributed among thousands of nodes. Some people don't care because they just want efficient and faster transactions. And you guys have gone about it in your own kind of custom way. One more question on this specific topic. It says that BitGo is the custodian. What does that actually mean? Does this mean that they are just like they own part of the shards, or they run like one, or they're one of the signers of this like MMM kind of process?
So yeah, they provide the multi-sig, like all the signing goes through them, and they are one of the co-signers for each transactions that are adding liquidity or removing liquidity from the liquidity pools. So yeah, one of the co-signers, and they also provide like the whole multi-sig structure or framework for our account.
Got it. Cool. Thank you for the clarification. And before we do dive into runes, because I know this is like the hot topic and this is what everyone's really building for, take us through your experience of building this same exact tool for ARC20 and for BRC20. What type of lessons did you learn through this, and what type of hurdles did you have to overcome to build it? Because you don't really see any BRC20 swap tools. Unisat attempted to do this and failed pretty miserably. And I don't think I've seen any other swap platforms for ARC20, although I may be mistaken.
I think the hardest part was just to figure out what index to use for BRC20. So BRC20 was the hardest. Back then, there was like a little bit of conflict between different indexers. So we will need to double check each time to see whether one user has the correct balance. And then on top of that, we need to do our own balance for our Dotswap V1. So that was the hardest. But we kept trying it, kept looking for different indexers just to make sure that users would get their balances right. After BRC20, everything else seems to be a bit easier because we have a foundation, and let alone that ARC20's the protocol itself is just much more graceful or simpler, or not necessarily simpler, but easier for builders to build than BRC20's. It costs less UTXO uploads. The indexing is actually quite easier. So if you don't know, there are a bunch of ARC20 markets. And initially we thought that the transactions, the swaps that are going through our protocol would not show up on their markets. And then it turns out they count our swaps as if they are as if they are meant to be. Swaps are different of any amounts at any time, and they count as transactions, and they will show up on different ARC20 markets. So yeah, ARC20 was much more simpler. And then we have the runes, which is like combining the best worlds of BRC20s and ARC20s without all of the unnecessary parts, which is, I think, why everyone is so bullish on runes itself. Even Casey said it, like complexity kills, build simple things. And so that's also what we're trying to do. Cut out the unnecessary parts for BRC20s and try to utilize the best parts of each like protocol, make it simple as possible. So yeah.
Where have you gotten so far on the platform? Where do you see the most traction? Like, where are the users right now?
It comes and goes. Of course, we started as BRC20s, so that's where that's where most of the volumes was at. Right now, everybody is trying to swap rooms. There are some arbitrage opportunities between our platform and the big names like the Magic Eden and OKX. So they are doing the runes arbitraging a lot. And then there are some like ARC20s like just before runes launch. I think it was Electron. There was like a big Latin American community there. So yeah, it comes and goes as the market demands, I think.
Yeah, we did see this with what platform was this where there was a ton of with Pups, where because Pups was so distributed across all these different chains and different protocols, it was just getting arbed all the way up and all the way down. And our arbitrage traders are the ones that actually create a more efficient market over time, but it can be quite painful in the beginning to get traction when people are just extracting as much capital as possible through the protocol. Moving over, with the runes, I'm looking at the DEX. It looks like for, Dog Go to Moon, there's been 5 or so transactions today. Looks like you're averaging about, 10 transactions per day. What is the strategy for Dotswap to, attract users to come provide liquidity in the LP pool and to swap? I don't see a points meta, which is kind of like the easy thing to do. But how do you attract users to this? Because honestly, I feel like this kind of product's like a 0 to 1 that everyone's really attempting to build. This is why a lot of Bitcoin layer 2s are popping up to try to do this on an EVM or on the EVM, because it's easy just to do for smart contracts. So where are the users and how are you going to bring them over?
I think the first step for us is to build a bigger TVL or a deeper liquidity pool. So what we do is, you mentioned points. Actually, we have points. We have mining points, right? So yeah, if you come and provide liquidity, you would get we call it a liquidity mining points, which should be converted into our government's token, which is DSWP. It's still a BRC20 token for now, because back then BRC20 was the thing. So we basically put out a BRC20 asset as our government's token, and we say, oh, we're going to convert all the points to that token if you come and provide liquidity. And the longer you provide, or the more you provide, you will get more points. That's one of the strategies that we are trying to do. But for now, I think the trend has moved away from BRC20. So we're looking into like swapping or transitioning that government's token into the Runes protocol, which was we held a poll, and most of our community agreed that maybe we should convert it into a Runes assets in the future. So if you come provide liquidity, you will have points, which will be then converted into the Runes our Runes government's token in the future. And on top of that, we also have like to attract more liquidity providers, whether it's teams for a Runes project, or whether it's communities. We also have like a customized fees, or customized LP fees for each trading pair. So if you come, you can like set a higher or lower liquidity pool fees, which will then benefit more to the liquidity providers or to the swappers. You can choose that. And on top of that, we also have like asymmetric fees. So like buying would cost, or selling would cost more than buying. So yeah, that's a bit of, if you want to go full degen, you can only buy and not sell. You can do that. But yeah, that's a bit of our games with numbers for that strategy.
Yeah, one thing. So I want to get to this launchpad, because this is initially how I found you, and I think it's a quite a brilliant idea. And going through the logistics of it, I would love to learn a little bit more, because this reminds me a lot of Pump.Fun, which is something that Adam just can't pull himself away from every 5 seconds.
I like losing at least 3 SOL a day. That's my strategy.
So with your Runes Launchpad 2.0, I think you launched it with Runes Coin DeFi. And if I understand this correctly, you could take a percentage of a pre-mine of a Runes and basically place it in an LP. And then as it mints out, there's a donation or funds that are raised, is what's quoted here, where that BTC then is placed in the LP on the other side. And then once it's minted out, you have basically a functioning LP pool and a token that's minted out for people to trade directly on Dotswap. First, do I have that correct? And then second, take us through the first mint of runescoin.defi. What was that experience like? And are there any adjustments that need to be made?
Right, you're mostly correct, but I would like to simplify even further. So think of it as like a claiming portal, where the users or the project team will pre-mine the runes, which shout out to Casey for having this pre-mine function for the runes. But yeah, they pre-mine the runes, put it into the multi-sig address that we talked about, like the MMM, the multi-layer or multi-sig scheme. Yeah. Yeah, and then they put it in there, and we distribute it to the minters or the claimers who will come and pay in BTC for the claiming fees, which is like a simple Bitcoin transaction, which sends the runes to their address. And then the rest of the BTC will go straight into the liquidity pool, which builds up for the BTC/runes trading pair, which will be immediately unlocked upon the ending of the mint or the distributing or the claiming. Yeah. So yeah, and second, talking about like the first launch of Runes Coin DeFi, it was a bit of there was a bit of difficulties there because we didn't expect that people are like buying the rooms in different amounts. So if you are doing like a airdrop for rooms where like to 1,000 addresses, where each address would get the same amount of rooms, then that can be done in one transaction to 10,000 addresses. But if everyone is claiming it or buying different amounts of the rooms, then it would need too much data to be put into the op return. So, and as it turns out, there's like a maximum amount of UTXOs that can be put out in one block, which caused a bit of like a traffic for the launch. But then we quickly found out, if you wait like one more block, two more block, like 3 blocks, then everyone can get their mains off. But then, of course, that's like the first try. We made some mistakes, but then we are looking into a more simple approach, which would completely avoid this this problem for our next launches.
So, so this right now, I can't go and launch my own meme rune. You're controlling this. You're controlling which ones get launched right now.
People are saying we're gatekeeping, but no, we.
I honestly think you probably just don't have the tech fully right yet. I mean, this is complicated stuff.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you just don't have the tech
complicated.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated. We will need to like customize the whole thing for the teams or the communities that wants to come and launch their tokens.
Is one of the strategies, is one of the strategies to kind of standardize it in the way that Pump.Fun has standardized the amount needed, the liquidity needed before it launches? Is that one of the strategies with you, to just basically create a standard format for launching?
Yes, definitely. We wanted to make it like standardized, like a work stream, or make it make it automatic, where you can just come, fill out the info, connect your wallet, and give your tokens into the multi-sig address, and then it just goes. That's the vision from the start, but things quickly get complicated, and we are trying to make it as simple as possible. So if you come, of course, talk to us, hit us up if you're interested in launching your Runes token for a immediate liquidity pool. We will try to make it work for you. And in fact, we have been talking to some of the Runes like teams. I don't want to say the names, but yeah, we're in talks with them. We try to customize the launchpad experience for them and their community.
Yeah, Lynn says on the live stream, liquidity pool, fundraising, public mint, fee structure, loyalty, all should be customized. So yeah, it sounds like that'll be the eventual goal here. Because if you can get something similar to Pump.Fun, Adam and I were just talking about this before the show. It's now number 3 in terms of fee generation, competing with Ethereum.
Crazy
for fees, which is crazy. So if you could get something similar to that, then you will be cooking, literally.
I mean, my recommendation is to actually remove all customization other than the image and the name, and make it completely standardized. I mean, one of the things you guys can do as you're doing this is figure out, well, where's the sweet spot as far as like how much liquidity you need, what's the total amount of tokens, and you just standardize it across the board. And because people, especially degens, a lot of ways don't like choices. They like to just know exactly what's happening and be able to just ape into stuff. Certainly it's worked for Pump.Fun. Jake and I were talking offline about how difficult it is to get that sort of stuff right, and that they were able to get it right is really incredible. So I'm excited to track what you guys are doing here, because I do think it's a big opportunity.
Yeah. So it was Adam. It was Adam speaking, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's Adam. That's me. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's like a valid or like very good point. Like some people would just want to go full DJ mode and just ape into things and just pay however much you charge them. So I think that could be one of the directions that we can go, like standardize everything. You just come, and people will see your like profile pic and see the ticker and see how much you're paying, and then just aid into it. So yeah, I think that's a good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question actually. I'm interested in what your guys' considerations were. When I first discovered this, I talked with a handful of different people about the product. And from the US side perspective, there were some regulatory concerns of it being considered an ICO or a crowd sale, because in this instance, right, if you're taking a percentage of the pre-mine and allocating it to the pool, and then users are then raising funds, you could call it donations or whatever, to use the BTC side of the other pool, the owner of the LP would be the deployer of the token. So therefore they're raising essentially the BTC because it's given to them. And I'm just going to give some numbers here for those that are listening. For the Runes Coin DeFi Launchpad, it says here the fair launch supply was 90%. 10% was the pre-mine, which I'm assuming goes to the LP pool. The cost per mint was 4,617 sats, which was about $3. And the funds raised were essentially 2.1 BTC. So, and it says 100% of it was injected into the initial liquidity pool across 550 participants. So just from your perspective, you guys may not even be a US based company. Was that something that you've taken into consideration or discussed on how to go about this in the right way?
I think our like legal team has looked into it, but since we're not like based in US, so we're not quite as familiar as you guys are in that sense. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I was curious. We have to go through these mental gymnastics every day for regulation. It's quite painful. Lynn says the owner will not be raising any funds. The reserve token has the owner put the same BTC into the pools. So there's one solution there. Yeah, if you could get that as a pumped off fund or launch pad, right? That's I think another 0 to 1 kind of situation. As we see right now, the runes or the etching of runes is slowing down, but we did see that period where there was like literally 30,000 runes made in like a day. So you could see this really turn on really quickly, and especially since it's essentially free to mint these, right?
I mean, if we think about Bitcoin, I mean, what we've been talking about for the last 6 months in the kind of lead up to runes was this idea that there's all this liquidity on Bitcoin, looking for a home, looking for things to do. And yeah, if you guys are in a really interesting position here, it's pretty exciting. I mean, I know there's no traction on runes right now. There's no kind of movement. All seems dead. But like, if you guys click this thing right, like that could all change in a day, right? That's pretty exciting for you guys.
Yeah, to say the least. There's another thing on the website that I'm looking at here, which is just like a little bit of explanation for. It says that there's a DAO and then there's .DAO, and there's some. Yeah, it looks like it's for BRC20. Just give us a little bit of explanation of what this is.
But yeah, it all comes from like a discovery that we just found out. Oh, we can just do like trustless token locking, utilizing the HTLC, like the hash time lock, that's equipped like natively for Bitcoin. And we say, oh, why don't we just like lock the BRC20s? Why don't we just lock the BTCs, where people will come and like sign the transactions and it's locked, and only they can unlock the assets after a certain period of time. Yeah, and we say, oh, that just sounds like how Curve DAO would with their like vote escrow, like voting power model, or how like the one of those DAO at websites. I forgot their names. So that's basically it. And we say, oh, this is like the perfect use cases for Bitcoin, like trustless asset locking. And then we say, oh, since we have this governance token, so if you would come and lock in your token, which is done fully on chain natively utilizing the Bitcoin scripts and the hash time locks, then we will give you voting power. And then with that voting power, you can dictate like the like the most important parts, like how Dotswap is going to develop, how the LP fees are going to distribute it in the future. And we basically created a whole product or called DAO for that.
Yeah, I mean, even a year and a half later, there's the DAO space on Bitcoin is literally non-existent at this point. I mean, maybe this is, I think, the first one that I've really even seen try to be put into practical application. So is the long-term goal then here with Dotswap to turn it into a DAO and to have a rev share kind of situation with your token holders?
Yeah, because we kind of base our whole thing after like PancakeSwap. There's a bit of LP incentivizers here and there, but it's simple, it's easy to understand. And if like I've seen one of those like statistics where for Uniswap, most of the people that votes or most of the voting power are held by like the top 20% or the big liquidity providers. So with this DAO, I think it's like one of the benefits or one of the appeals to the liquidity providers, which we hope that it can encourage more people to come and provide liquidity and like govern, like utilize the government's rights for that for their LP, for their tokens. And I think it will definitely help us in the future. But again, like you said, the whole DAO thing is still not a thing for the BTC ecosystem. But we are putting like this, building this infrastructure, putting it out there. Hopefully one day when it catches up, it'll make a big wave.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even let's be honest, even the DAO space on ETH is still.
Yeah, I was gonna say. let's be clear. DAO's pretty much all turned into a disaster on Ethereum too. So be careful. You might want to take that one slow. I just see people pop up, all the time. There are all these art DAOs that were formed and stuff over the last, cycle, and it's just they tend not to go very well long term. It's just one or two people basically run the whole things anyway, and so yeah, they tend to turn not so great.
Yeah, so we do have a question from the live stream, and if anyone wants to come on stage and ask any questions, feel free to come on stage and request, or you can hit that purple button in the bottom right hand corner and post there, and we'll be sure to ask. So Pensive Shepe asks, long term, what will OPCat mean for the BTC ecosystem? So I'll present this to either of you on stage for Dotswap. What are your opinions of OPCat? Is there any vision to implement it into Dotswap protocol?
So yeah, for me personally, I haven't like quite looked into it. Like I know it will be good for, I think most of our devs like the idea that OPCat is coming back. But for me, I think variety is the spice of life, right? So the more the merrier. But what about Mr. Lin? Have you looked into the whole OPCat thing?
Yeah, and Lynn says here, quite a lot of things that will enable states on BTC UTXO. So Pensive Shepe is hyped with that, to say the least. Hyped, to say the least. I got one more question for you guys, and this is kind of just like the larger vision here, right? So like if you look at swap tools across different marketplaces, or across different blockchains, excuse me, right? You have Uniswap, and then you have 10 different swap tools after that between 1inch and Sushi, etc. On Solana, you have, I believe it's like Radium and Jupiter and a handful of them that consume it. Do you think this will be? Do you think the AMM DEX space on Bitcoin will follow a similar suit to where there's going to be a handful of you guys? And also on the other side of that, do you think the AMM space will mature and grow in a different light because there are no smart contracts, and so it may be a little bit of a different dynamic over here? Just overall thoughts on the AMM space on Bitcoin.
So yeah, so You mentioned there are no smart contracts on Bitcoin, so not yet. There are a bunch of like talented teams that's been working for it, like the BitVM teams, or the BEVM teams. So yeah, there are like teams working like constantly for it. So maybe one day it'll come true. But then again, like the PSBTs themselves, they can be seen as like the simplest form of a smart contract, and we already have that. And there are like you can do magical things with just native Bitcoin scripts. So there are definitely a big potential for Bitcoin or BTC native DeFi, and it's definitely good for all of the AMM swaps. But then again, I think most of the traders on the Bitcoin space, they are quite used to like the whole order book trading. Even with runes, when it just come out, it's just okay with having like a order book trading where you would need to specify the amounts every time, and you would have to wait for someone to pick it up. Everyone seems to be okay with it. So I think there is still also a long way for us to go. For us, the next step is to definitely just make our tokenomics more appealing to the liquidity providers and have a bigger TVL. And when the TVL has gone up, people will find it easier to come and swap here, and transactions will follow, and maybe we can get some tractions there. So yeah, that's how I am on the whole AMM on Bitcoin.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like you guys are fairly open to the idea of leveraging new technologies or new smart contract functionality once it does make it to Bitcoin. I actually have one more final question, then I'll pass it over to Dogfather. I created a few weeks ago like the first 10K runes kind of list, and Dotswap popped up the most in the first 10K. I kid you not, there was probably like 30 of these Dotswap tokens. Was this you guys kind of experimenting? Or do you own all of these? I'm just curious on if you guys have taken any ownership of some of these sub 10K etchings.
Yeah, I think I said like earlier, we're going to migrate our government's token to the runes protocol. So one of them, so we're just trying to find the good takers, and then one of them could become the runes government's token for Dotswap.
Got it. Thanks for the explanation. What's up, Dogfather?
Hey, what's up? So yeah, I'm interested, just for my little dog brain. Can you explain it a bit further? So let's say I have $1 million and I want to put them into some AMA. So what do I earn at the moment? Is it, just in parentheses, just at the governance token, or is there some like BTC I do earn? Or, the same thing that if I provide BTC, do I already earn some yield by providing liquidity, or how does it really work?
Yeah, it's quite similar to like Uniswap V2, like the simplest one. You just come in, you provide liquidity, you will get a share for it. And then as people trade more and more in that between that trading pair, these would accumulate back into the liquidity pool. So like for every like 100, you would get like 2 cents or 20 cents back into the liquidity pool. And your liquidity pool share, you would have that like set amount of liquidity pool share. So when you remove the liquidity, all the fees that's been accumulated will be like your rewards basically. So you would have the mining points, which will be in the future converted into the government's token. And on top of that, you would have the LP fee rewards, which is accumulated from the trading between the trading pair.
Awesome. Thank you for the clarification.
So when you do provide LP, are you given an LP token on the other side like you would see on Uniswap, or is it all just internal counting on the Dotswap side to show who owns the LP?
Right. For now, I think like the Ordi swap, they are doing the LP token way for now, we're now trying to complicate things. It's just like, oh, we know you're providing this much of BTC and the BRC20, and we say, oh, you have this much of share.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for explanation. Lynn also says we currently lack the basic layer to issue the LP token. That's where you start getting really into heavy kind of DeFi, products.
And I think with rooms, it can be easier to do a LP token, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, take some time. Lynn says we need a limited token issuing with ownership minting. Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. So you need to add a little bit more to the token itself. Yeah, Adam's got a friend there. Well, if nobody else has any questions here, I'm gonna check the comments. I believe we can wrap it up. It seems like Lynn has quite a few fans. Hath, who is one of the team members at OmniSat, says Lynn FTW. There were actually 2 questions about SRC20 integrations. Has the Dotswap team considered adding SRC20?
Yeah, about that, we actually met. So has anyone been to like the Hong Kong Bitcoin Asia or Ordinals Asia events?
I did not make it, but I hear that I know SRC20 has a pretty strong community over there too.
Yeah. So we met like Rick from OpenStamp, who's like the biggest SRC20 protocols or tools provider. We talked to them, and we like the idea of integrating maybe the stamps or SRC20 on Dotswap. But of course, we are still working on it because right now we're focusing on rooms. But SRC20, as we said before, with the foundation of BRC20, everything should be easier. So yeah, it's definitely on the roadmap.
Awesome. Yeah, Lynn also says even ordinals on Doge. Yeah, we're big fans of Doginals on this show as well. And there's a handful of AMMs starting to pop up on that side as well. I know that it's a little bit more complicated to build on Doge because it doesn't have SegWit or Taproot. So a little bit more of a hardened rock. Adam, do you have any final questions? What's your thoughts on the AMM space on Bitcoin?
Well, I think it's obviously it's incredibly difficult to build, so that you guys were kind of first out the door is pretty impressive. And I think, trying to find the product market fit is really hard, and I know that myself personally. And so I wish you guys luck on that. I think there's definitely some opportunity there with the, having that kind of pumped up fun on Bitcoin.
The Launchpad.
Yeah, the Launchpad is certainly something that would be really, really interesting, which would tie in with your liquidity pools and stuff like that. Would be really interesting. So I'm excited to follow you guys and see how it goes, man. It's going to be exciting.
Lynn says dotswap.fun.
Fun. There you go, man.
dgen dotswap.fun.
Awesome.
Our good friend Rooney's is on stage. Rooney's, what's your thoughts on AMMs? You got any questions for the Dotswap team?
Hey guys, it's Dr. Papa again. It's good to talk to you as always. I'm sorry. I kind of showed up late again today. I didn't catch all of it, but I am into swapping fluids. That's something that I think is pretty cool. Is that what you guys were talking about? I think that's inappropriate. I'm sorry for any tender ears we might have in the audience, but I think the most important issue we need to talk about is how do I get to share a microphone with Jake? I'm feeling a little bit jealous.
It's not going to happen, Dr. Popper. Not going to happen.
You gotta pass some Roonies. Share them Roonies.
You gotta share. Now, I'm sorry. I don't want to get on here and show, but we did just have a debut from our latest commercial featuring Hank Pilliams. Can I post that to the top?
Sure, man.
Go ahead. Shill your Roonies, man.
Well, can I play the song for you? It's quite good.
Oh boy, let's do it. All right,
All right, go ahead, man.
play it.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Wait, it's rated R. I mean, how is this appropriate?
No.
All right, everybody cover your
No.
earmuffs.
It's all above board,
Okay.
and it has some pending patents pending. It'll get everybody very excited. I'm gonna put my phone up to the computers. Is that okay? Let's
Yeah,
try
do
that.
it. Send
We'll
us
rug
up.
you if it's bad. We'll just rug you. Go ahead.
Oh, am I rugging?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
These are my pork pains. Won't you pop them, please? Grab a pack of Roonies and put pork pains to ease. Roonies are backed by truth. No more trust me, bro. Grab them at Magic Eden and take them on the go. Save me from these pork pains caused by trash. Stomping on all my dreams and debasing my little stash. I've had it with these pork pains while billionaires have it sweet. Roonies are a big F you a self-proclaimed elite.
Hi guys, it's Dr. Pop again. Here's the hooked on Roonies today.
Oh, you got like a trailer in the back there, man.
Three full swings, and of course, mild business. Do not take Roonies if you don't respect the pump, if you're having fun staying poor, or you're some kind of boomer, or if you're a new coder.
Applaud, dude. I applaud you.
Top shelf.
We got. Let me post that to the tippity top thing there. I think your audience might like it. Possibly, maybe.
Don't get hooked too hard, guys. You know, you might end up homeless.
Well, you come on down and live under the bridge with us. There's plenty of room under the bridge.
Plenty of room under the bridge, man.
That's right. We got room for you. Then come on in with the bag and we'll cook you up something real nice in the microwave.
It's if Chepe says when you have Taylor Swift shill Roonies.
Trailer
Sorry,
Swift.
Trailer Swift. That's awesome.
Taylor Swift.
I like that. I think we need to get her on the scene. I like Taylor Swift. That sounds real nice.
Taylor Swift.
We'll see if we can lock her down in our next agreement. Now, we had to pay a pretty penny to get Hank Pillion's on. Crank Hank? I don't know. Anyway, thank you guys for letting me jump on here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to be so distracting, but next time, please send me the information on how to share a mic with Jake. Thank you.
Hey, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, Tuesday through Thursday. We here. Without further ado, we're going to conclude the space. Lynn, Dotswap, I appreciate both of you for coming on with the explanation. I'm excited. It's very encouraging to see that people are actually building him. And, you know, like I said, through my own personal experience watching the OmniSat team develop and going through these conversations, I know it is not an easy thing to do by any means. This is why even a year and a half into Ordinals, there's literally one or two AMMs that exist. So a long road ahead. And you guys got APIs. Awesome.
APIs, all right. Reach out, guys. Reach out.
There you go.
Awesome.
Lynn,
right, shout out APIs. Oh, by the way, we have Rooms API just published today. So yeah.
Awesome. I'll be sure to share that information. Lynn, any final closing thoughts throughout this conversation? Anything you'd like to tell the crowd?
Yeah, that I would say that the L1 is the future, right? If there are no L1 application, why we build things on L2? So we think that we can help to build a more vivid DeFi whole ecosystem, and we can integrate the light pools idea from Casey and be more peer-to-peer, right? More peer-to-peer, more decentralized, more trustless, which is good. Okay, so thank you, all of you, all the contributors, all the builders, all the creators that we need to build things together, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Appreciate you guys for coming on, and everyone who stayed throughout the conversation. Very, very encouraging to see DeFi now becoming more of a thing and actually breathing some life. For those that don't know, Adam, myself, and Chris, who are on stage, we work at Emblem Vault, the leading cross-chain NFT protocol in the industry. We host this show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be back tomorrow with our regular Thursday inscription show where we cover everything Bitcoin ordinals, Dogenals, Litecoin ordinals, stamps, counterparty, Hashinals, ETHscription, and whatever other inscription ecosystem that begins to proliferate. We're covering it all. Oh, and Adam's favorite, Bellinals, which is Nook is almost minted out, man.
It's almost minted out, man. 100 million incoming, bro. Incoming.
6%. We'll cover that tomorrow then. Lynn, everybody, Roonies, make sure everyone that is in the crowd follow everyone on stage. And Roonies, come back tomorrow. We'll answer your question tomorrow. Until then, everyone be safe. Enjoy your Wednesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.